Hi, hey, hello. If you're new here, my name is Rain. If you're not new here, welcome back. I really appreciate you stopping on by to my little corner of the internet. And in today's video, I'm going to be redesigning two of my OCs just a little bit and then trying to solidify an idea for another OC that I'm workshopping at the moment. So before we get into that, if you would be interested in liking and commenting at any point in the video, and if you're interested in seeing more of my work, don't forget that subscribing is really helpful for me and you get to join my little art community. So with that, let's get into the first of my sketches today. First and foremost, I did get to thinking about my OC Nameless, and I was really just kind of wanting to play around with some outfits that would be more suited towards my OC Vivian so that I could make like cute little matching drawings with them. I'm thinking about doing a finished illustration of them, or maybe a more refined sketch done digitally at some point. And I just kind of wanted to play around with a not quite Victorian but Victorian-esque outfit for Nameless, so sat down and got to work with a nice ballpoint pen and just kind of felt it out. I really like the aesthetic of kind of long detective, you know, like the what's his name? The starts with an S. No, it doesn't. Sherlock, yes, Sherlock. The kind of Sherlock-esque detective mystery type brown textured clothing. I really like the way those look as shorts, like knee-length shorts on women with flowy tops. And so I was kind of going for something like that. I don't think I really stayed true to the couple of references that I pulled up, but we'll get there. And I also kind of wanted to play a little bit with like horn jewelry, right? So Nameless has horns, and I was thinking I wanted to play around with that. So it's not as much an OC redesign as me maybe more so considering an expansion to my OC's wardrobe, maybe playing with some more time-centered clothing pieces to be more indicative of her coworker slash not a love interest slash best friend, so that they can feel a little bit more cohesive at times, but also is totally a Nameless sort of thing, her character, to put on something to tease Vivian about being an old man, and for Vivian to be really irritated if she's wearing something that is not actually a vintage Victorian piece, but is meant to look Victorian. He's totally the type to be like, what is this fiendish incorrect collar that you're wearing? Which means I totally have to spend time researching Victorian like collar designs and like the terminology for them, but I'll get there. Or like teasing her about like the decrease in quality of clothing since people don't like sew it themselves, and she's totally the type to be like, Vivian, I tore my shirt, can you fix it? And for him to get really offended by like the cloth being different than when he was a youngin'. He totally has his clothes from the 1800s, even though they're like worn thin, just out of pure spite to be a menace. Very much appropriate for their dynamic. So I wanted to play around with some collars, some bow ties, things that felt like they could evoke a feeling, but definitely didn't quite hit all the markers. You know, it's often enough that even a non-born in Victorian era person would be like, it's this, but just to make Vivian extra enraged, you know, that's not what I'm going for, but you know, I can see the vision, Vivian. You know, I can see what you're talking about, but I'm not going for it just to mock him. Be a total pain, you know, those two always teasing each other. And so I wanted to play around with that, and I was in a ballpoint pen kind of mood, and I think that's what I should have stuck with for the entire week. Honestly, I ended up being in a really big art slump later in the week, so I only really got this page done in terms of me feeling good about it. I went through several other pages and I just hate the work that I did. And I think I found myself in a bit of a bit of a slump, mostly related to work and not really feeling quite like I had the time, and I don't feel like I've been able to get in the drawing mood quite as much as I've wanted to this week, so I definitely cut out a lot of my drawings this week. I was going to originally just make this a sort of a video just kind of being a comprehensive like sketch with me for a week type video, because I do like those. I did make the shorter. You'd think I'd remember, but I was going to make a comprehensive video this week, but I ended up wanting to start the process of redesigning my original character Loki, and I figured that I already started designing a new outfit for Nameless, and I do the other sketches that you'll see on this page, which I'm very happy with, and I figured that this is a more thematic and you don't have to see the worst of my week this way. So with that, we're finally somewhere else in this drawing where I feel like I can talk a little bit more about what's going on. I definitely love a high-waisted short. A high-waisted short is a necessity for me. For most of my characters, I really like to tuck a loose, flowy piece of fabric into a pant line as well. I think it creates a really nice like dimension to the silhouette, because if you were to just cut out the character and make them one color, that kind of like billowy top and then the tight cinched waist and then like the more defined legs, right? It looks really nice. Gives something exciting to the silhouette, which is something that I'm trying to get better at doing. And then additionally, I also really don't know that Nameless is truly Nameless if she's not wearing knee socks. I think it's just a part of her character design at this point. I don't know if she can just not wear them. I think I always draw her with knee socks. It was a key component of her original character design. Knee socks with a halter strap connecting to her shorts, and that I try to do without more often because I don't know if those exist, and they sound uncomfortable. I really don't enjoy knee sock halters personally, and so it's like, oh, why would I make my character wear them if I want to keep them around, you know? I think it's a bit more of a like one-time kind of design choice in my opinion for me, a kind of throwaway character, but I ended up really, really liking the way it felt, right? The knee socks, the chunk of exposed thigh, and then those kind of higher thigh shorts that I ended up going with. And I think that's kind of why I ended up going with higher up shorts, because I knew I needed the knee socks, and so the knee length shorts weren't going to really look good. You weren't going to be able to like tell they were there unless I went through the process of hatching through the socks. And this was supposed to be a kind of passive process, and I didn't want to add too much tone, just enough to kind of distinguish things a little bit better. And I don't think that I was in the headspace for it at the time, just trying to get this more conceptually down in the first place. I don't know that I even really like thought about it too much beyond, oh, those would kind of interfere with each other. This is also my chronically ill disabled OC, and I've been looking into it, and I've been having a hard time finding designs that feel practical and also comfortable, but I do need to start working on designing some leg splints that suit her character design and suit the universe they're in, to just kind of support her as a character. I do give her canes most of the time, but I do want to try and design some leg splints so that I can increase kind of my accessibility options with her as a character and kind of approach being a little bit more representative. And I just need to find good references for leg splints, and then seeing how to not forego practicality and honesty in representation, but also being able to like suit the character. I don't know. She seems like the type of character to like put bows on it if she can. And so that's something that I've been really like thinking about recently and trying to be a little bit more conscious of. I do need to do this, and I want to do this for her character design at some point. And the sooner I do it, probably the better, right? And so I'm trying to incorporate it here and there in my sketches so that I'm being a little bit more conscious of it when I actually approach doing her sketches and stuff like that. Too long ago, I did put up a video sketching a concept of, or doing a concept sketch for a wood elf character that I want to do, and I want to play with the design of more. I'm very fascinated with and enchanted with the ideas that I came up with and discussed in that video. And if you want to hear me talk about the kind of full character design and the general ideas I went through and how I kind of workshopped my ideas for future kind of ideas and things I want to do and think about for the character and future design processes that I have and will be working on, that's my sketching a woodland elf video. And it's not particularly important, but I did go through a few different ideas, and you can get some more kind of context to the decision making overall in this one if you really want to. Obviously not necessary. And so when it comes to this one, I wanted to play with one kind of outfits a little bit more. So I was kind of trying to think, okay, what outfit would be appropriate for a formerly dead character that is kind of growing plants, right? What would suit her? What would be easy to put on? What would be practical? What wouldn't interfere with the plant life? Things like that, because I don't want her to just have a fashionless kind of bikini top. And so I did want to, in this video, in this sketch, I did go through the process of thinking, what does a bralette look like? What kind of shorts would be practical? Pants, would skirts be more practical? I only do one proper sketch of an outfit, but this is kind of me workshopping it. I've been kind of doing it on the back burner and just throughout here and there on scrap paper and stuff, really trying to think about it. And I'm still not coming up with anything that I'm truly in love with. If you can hear my cat William, I don't know what her problem is. She's screaming in the corner of my closet. There should be nothing there, but she's very upset. But anyway, I kind of did want to approach a more exposed outfit approach, kind of see, well, if this is kind of the bare minimum baseline, right? This is the bikini and booty short kind of vibe that I don't want. Where can I now add clothing to it, right? How do I add more fabric or make it more dynamic or make it a little bit less subjective while being kind of wary about practicality, right? And sometimes I do think I just need to start from what I don't want and put that down and have that kind of permanently there, and then think, okay, now how do I improve it? And so from the bikini top, I did decide that I really liked the kind of just plunge neck crop, and I think it would look really nice if I frayed those edges. I don't do that in this video, but fraying the edges holds a lot of potential, right, for it looking a little bit more torn, maybe having like vines snagged on it, right? She's growing plants from her flesh, right? And I think that there is a lot of fun to be had in perhaps her own plants kind of destroying her clothing and being a nuisance, and thorns and vines and leaves snagging on frayed edges, getting tucked uncomfortably in places. It definitely poses a lot of options for comics and just cute little doodles that I'm really looking forward to getting to do at some point one day. I feel like every video I'm like, I can't wait to do this new sketching concept that I have or I intend to do, and then I just keep piling them up so much that it's like absurd. But another thing I talked about in my video was the concept of photosynthetic skin. Now, I didn't go through some of the more condition representation processes that I wanted to do because I just wanted to feel out photosynthetic skin. I did choose the classic green for this sketch, not because I thought it looked nice, but because I had the highlighter to do so. But I am kind of thinking about having it be like all photosynthetic colors, right? And just like as a like species, they can have different colors amongst them according to the color spectrum and what different color groups tend to be reflected together. So, you know, those reddy oranges, and then maybe some blues, and then the greens and stuff like that. Having those separated so that there's more diversity and fun in like the photosynthetic pigments. Not everybody's just one color. It doesn't feel too hulky, you know what I mean? There's room to play, right? And so just taking the highlighter and getting down some like basic colors, just it helped me feel a little bit better about the sketch. I wasn't in love with it. I didn't like how I cut out the shorts. The torso was feeling longer than I wanted, but I don't think that's bad in retrospect. I really hated it and was frustrated with it in the moment, but in retrospect, I do think that feels a little bit appropriate with a character that is made of plants, you know, like a skinny and lanky plant. Then you have kind of like thicker based plants and all of that, you know, kind of trying to make the body representative of a stem. Like a thin-ish stem didn't feel too bad in retrospect. It wasn't intentional, but I did find a kind of reason to like the sketch at a later date, which is always this is always a joy, because I find that I tend to not like a lot of my sketches when I'm first going into them, and then maybe I like them a bit more when I'm talking about them. Then another thing I've been really wanting to work on recently is like blocking out colors in highlighter and then drawing over them, getting better at conceptualizing colors as a basis or shapes as a basis, and then defining details better later. I used to be really good at this. I used to actually have a skill in kind of being able to comprehend shapes and block them out a little bit better, and I've just found that I've kind of lost that from lack of practice, and I've been very insecure about how my practice has been going and trying to reacquire it recently, and I know I need to just bite the bullet and go through it, but I very much miss my ability to kind of like comprehend a line with my hand without really looking at it, and it's something that I really do need to get to work on fixing and trying to kind of reacquire, but I just haven't managed it. And that's something I wanted to do with my third and final sketch. As you can see, I just was blocking out things a little bit in highlighter to then go in with some new colors, and then eventually you'll see I go in with a fine liner brush pen to kind of actually define those shapes and make them more comprehensive and viewable. And frankly, I really, really liked the way that this soft pastel-y orange looked with the green. Of course, highlighters, they're all similar kind of vibrancies, and the green is a similar tone to the orange, the lighter ones, and I feel like it's cute. I feel like it goes well together, at least conceptually, and for a little doodle, I feel pretty good about it. I think it's kind of cute. I don't know if it's a color combo I'd actually commit to, but I have been wanting to kind of make a redheaded character, or at least actually like try and draw red hair more, and maybe doing a gingery orange would be a good first step to it. And it's certainly easy to color, right, when it's something as accessible as just a highlighter on your desk, and I feel like that's been a bit of a deterrent recently. I'm just not in the mood to kind of like get out art supplies and like do the whole finished drawing kind of thing. I don't know. It's been a conflict recently where I just don't feel like I have the skills to do finished art, and I think that's kind of come a little bit with me being kind of busier than usual with school and my job, things just kind of being a little bit more intense than it has been previous years because I have 2 internships, but it's not ultimately that bad, right? I always get back into the swing of things, but I do want to make my sketchbook a little bit more about what I originally set out to make my sketchbook be, right? Which is carefree artistic expression. And so in that, I think I need to get a little bit more comfortable with practicing art again instead of just kind of trying to produce something, make something, and more so actually practicing and being intentional with my art creation process. So I think you guys can definitely expect a few more videos in the maybe nearish future where I go through the process of reteaching myself some of the skills that I used to really enjoy having, and I work on doing those things and actually going through the process of reacquiring skills, honing skills that I've lost or been less comfortable with recently. And I would be really interested in knowing if you guys are interested in that type of video. I feel like I have a hard time telling what's actually like enjoyed of my content in terms of analytics. I feel like the analytics say one thing, and then kind of the comments say a different thing, right? Like, you guys are always so supportive and so kind and nice to me, and then when it actually comes to the YouTube analytics, YouTube's like, nobody wants to watch this. And I'm like, well, I do want people to want to watch what I'm making. So if you guys aren't interested in watching me try and practice art skills and acquire new skills, do let me know. I'm not going to be offended or anything. It's fine. I don't mind it. And in terms of practicing new skills, I wanted to play around with noses. So when redesigning my OC Loki, I actually did a lot of research over again, right? So I did this research originally, and I made Loki as my original character. This was for my Gods in Modern Mundane Environment series that I did, and I've mentioned like 30,000 times. Years ago now. I did it years ago now, and I'm still clinging to this series. But I like the OCs that came out of it. I made Hypno, Thanatos, and Loki. And Loki is the second favorite of the group. Thanatos did ultimately become my favorite. I love Thanatos. I need to redesign Hypnos. I love him conceptually, but like execution wise, I definitely didn't serve it how I wanted to. And I do want to make cute little ditzy comics of those brothers being sweet and nice to each other. I love the game Hades, and I kind of want to make more Hypnos Thanatos content with my OCs that kind of fills in the void of that brotherly love that I want them to have. They do have it in Hades, but I want it to be more tooth-rotting fluff type brotherly love, and so I do want to make that content with those two. But Loki was my absolute favorite in terms of researching because he is, or they are, or she is non-binary and a shapeshifter and pansexual or bisexual. I mean, it's up in the air, right? But because they're so loose and expressive and they're capable of being anything that they want to be, there are no restrictions for my decisions that I'm making, right? And it almost is kind of overwhelming because I'm trying to be representative of something that theoretically existed to a large group of people years ago that was their literal belief system, right? And I also have complete unrestrained, unabashed freedom to do whatever I want with it, which is a big part of why I so thoroughly enjoy Loki as a character concept, right? Because there's also so much kind of vaguely conflicting information. So if you saw my story that I was going to be redesigning my OC Loki, you also saw when the sticky note on the side was half done, but these are just kind of basic notes on kind of the mythos and some of the information that I wanted to take into consideration in terms of trying to redefine his personality as well. Their personality, I generally do like the more kind of masculine pronouns, but I very deliberately going into this wanted to ensure that there was a bit of androgyny in the basic kind of feeling, and I wanted to ensure that the Loki I created was a Loki that was very, very confident in being gender non-conforming And so while I didn't get to play as much with it this week as I wanted to, I am very, very excited to explore outfits and the masculine versus the feminine and how I want to do that. Do I want to do more feminine clothing with a masculine body or vice versa and things of that nature? But I generally kind of effeminize men anyway. And so when it comes to a lot of my male OCs, they have really long lashes, really feminine feeling eyeballs. I tend to give them a little bit more of a curvature to their waist and a thickness to their thighs that isn't generally stereotyped of like the basic masculine body, and it almost to an extent causes issues for me in terms of actually like sketching out the body, which is another issue that's really been bothering me this week. I've just had the hardest time artistically achieving symmetry and proportionality in my work. I don't know what's gotten into me, but I very much feel like every time I sit down to draw, the eyes are like so visibly not on the same line that it's like actually embarrassing that I had the audacity to do it in the first place, right? I'm kind of messing up kneecaps, the width between legs, things like that. And it's just been kind of frustrating, and usually when that happens, that means I need to chill out and I need to do something different. So I am planning on doing some more, not abstract, but definitely abnormal art in the coming week or two, just letting loose, maybe making just genuinely bad art. And if you're interested in seeing me make bad art where I go out of my way to just be kind of playful and non-specific with my work, and maybe just do things that are kind of stupid and goofy and weird, that's what I'm hoping to do next week. But I also, can go out of my way to, not make you guys look at ducks with octopus legs, but I've been thinking about it all day, about like, what if ducks could walk on the ocean floor with octopus legs, and I want to draw that drawing, and I'm going to, because I'm an artist and I can do what I want. But with that, I can understand why other people wouldn't want that information in their life, so I don't know. Let me know, because I definitely want to do stuff that's more non-representational. That's the word I want. Non-representational, so that at the very least when things are looking bad or not right, it's not even representational enough that I feel like completely defeated by my own art, which has kind of been the issue with redesigning Loki, is that I'm just not getting the body proportions right. I'm not getting the face shapes right. My hands are the hands I'm drawing are bad. I really need to just go all out, just like preliminary sketch week or something like that, and just completely throw away my expectations of myself as an artist and relax and settle into myself again. Sometimes I have a wonderful art day and I'm like, wow, this is great. And sometimes I have days, if not weeks, where I'm just like, I don't think I'm doing this right. And it's wild. Like, as soon as I got accepted for my master's degree program, I'm like, I don't know how to draw anymore. It's like the acceptance itself just completely sucked my artistic comprehension out of my being. And I've also just kind of felt like I've been not playing with disability representation, or kind of like trying to express and manage my own feelings quite like I want to with my art, right? I'm not going to say anything like graphic about my condition or be particularly descriptive, but I will be talking about my chronic illness for a minute if you need to like check out. I'm actually timestamping my videos sometimes now, and I don't have this section called disability chat, so you could just go on ahead and skip to the timestamp that is at the bottom of the description below. So, I've just been doing really bad lately, medically speaking. I have been working since the middle of January to get a referral to go to a rheumatologist. I've been waiting for a rheumatologist to accept me since January, and I just have been really defeated medically because I'm getting worse and I'm feeling worse, and it's really consuming a lot of my life and my abilities recently, and kind of getting to my head, and my head has also just been really it's been hurting really bad lately, and so it's just been so hard to do everything I want to do and to function the way I know I need to function. And with that, I've been just mentally kind of declining a little bit as I try to readapt to my own body, because it's hurting really bad, more worse. It's been hurting worse than ever, or worse than it has in a really long time. I was at least stable for quite a while, not really having particularly bad slumps, but bad days, but not like multiple months of like feeling like I'm on the decline. And so with that, I do know that I am gonna feel better if I start making some work that at least allows me to process my own feelings a little bit better. And because of that, I do want to take some time to think about my feelings and at least jot down some sketches and some ideas that I can do, so that I have an opportunity to create artwork that is expressing my moment in my life. And William is so upset right now. William, can you please stop it? But anyway, I know that I need to process my own feelings, and I generally find that by making entire art pieces dedicated to that expression and that feeling, and playing with my own concepts and emotions and trying to find a way to represent the non-representational, right? Would that be a way of putting it? You can't make chronic illness visible per se, but finding a way to represent it is cathartic, and it allows me to talk through my feelings on my channel, make a dedicated video to processing my current emotions and my current issues without it being something where people are going to have to click over it, possibly like this is. And so I do want to make a whole video where I can just say I'm gonna be talking about some heavy stuff, and people can then take care of themselves without having to skip. But with that, I will be ending the disability chat right around now. Came back to Loki now that people who may have skipped are with us once more. In my research, I generally found some things about Loki that did inform the ultimate decisions I wanted to make for his or their generalized appearance. I really kind of want to go with he, they pronouns, I think, for the generalized appearance, but maybe just he, they, she, doesn't matter. I don't think Loki is the type of character when presenting masculinely that they're like, no, don't call me she, because I think I want full, just, I don't care, do what you want. I think it suits the attitude of mischief and chaos, but in it, I did choose to kind of not really side with the parts on Loki from my reading. It was kind of 50-50 split with both the books I physically own and then also just articles, .orgs, and research papers I was reading. Whether or not he was pure evil, like some of them were describing them like Hyde from Jekyll and Hyde. Hyde alone in the ranks of mankind is nothing but pure evil. Like that was the vibe they were putting down, like word for word basically in their papers. And I don't like that approach, because when looking at the stories, a lot of the times the Azir, the Asgard people are being just as cruel and ungrateful to him as his pranks are towards them. So I feel like it's a morally gray character who was maybe pushed too far in terms of Ragnarok. And of course, I'm in the mythos, not the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I have to clarify that because I haven't watched it. I don't like superhero movies, and as interested as I am in like seeing their take on Loki, I just never bit the bullet because I never wanted to watch a superhero movie, and I know I need to, but I haven't watched it, so I'm very specifically talking just about the mythos. But, you know, with that, I feel like he's a little bit falsely characterized by saying he is pure evil. I do feel like he has done just as much good as he has bad until the end, closer to Ragnarok, where they truly seem to become fully ungrateful for his existence, but very dependent on him for fixing their problems. And so, with Loki being a creature of chaos and wild, kind of like Jotuns are in general, they're a little bit more primal in their characterization, and of nature. So for Loki to be a representation of chaos against the representation of order, that would be Asgard, I generally found that I like the idea that he is chaotic, but not necessarily bad, right? Because nature isn't bad, but nature is chaotic, and there are cruelties just as there are beauties to it. And I feel like that's a little bit more expressive of the actual tales that I was reading and the specific stories. He had a lot of good to him, and the decisions he made, and the way that they treated the Asgardians, and the pranks that weren't always malicious. Some of them were just outright malicious, though. And I also don't want to have an OC who is pure evil, so I'm making the executive decision to do morally gray chaos incarnate, because I already have a chaos incarnate and I love her, so why not have another chaos incarnate, right? Like, my dream come true, right? And I generally found a lot of sources with the blue eyes, and so that's fine. He also has red hair, and I said nah, I don't want the red hair. Not because I don't think it's fun and doesn't suit him, and I definitely will do versions of him with red hair. However, I do want to play with the Jotunheim more, right? And like, I don't want them to be presenting purely as an Asgardian when I can touch on the Jotun lineage. And so I wanted to go with a more Jotun hair color, so I'm kind of settling for a like deep purple, almost black, or just outright black, maybe with some fun purple streaks, because he is funky, okay? He is just he ain't straight, and he ain't gonna be conforming, so like, he totally is a purple highlight dude. But yeah, I'm really excited to do a colored illustration. I haven't fully decided, and earlier in the day, as you can see, I did some anatomy sketches trying to feel out how I want the body type to look, and I kind of want a skinny masculine, a more kind of vaguely buff masculine, but with feminine attire and a bit more feminine facial features, maybe some feminine thighs. And so I ultimately decided to take my favorite sketch for the kind of torso idea that I want and put it over the fact that I was having the worst time drawing a side profile for some reason. It was just not happening, okay? It was not gonna happen. I even referenced my own art to see how I draw side profiles, and I just am not in the headspace for it, and I was not having a good week, guys, okay? I'm just not having a good week, and this is as far as my sketchbook is gonna go. It's not like I don't treat it like a collage anyway 99% of the time, so I don't feel particularly bad about throwing in the towel over the side profile sketch. I maybe feel a little bit bad about the fact that side profiles are usually my jam, but it just wasn't happening the way I needed it to. So Physique came to stop by to cheer me up. She definitely didn't have any issues making my day a little bit better, and then I kind of just wanted to play around a little bit. One last tiny doodle while Physique was still here before just calling it quits for the night. And so, always, I wanted to thank you all so much for watching and taking the time out of your day to sit with me for a little while on my corner of the internet, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, night, wherever you are. Bye-bye!